Steven, we are live here on YouTube this morning, ready week 2 of the NFL, and we are getting the news here of who is in, who is out, some of the stuff coming through right now on the Saints side of things. Cornerback Marshawn Lattimore and safety CJ Gardner-Johnson are out for the Saints. If you have a +3.5 ticket on the Panthers, you're feeling pretty good about that one. No Paris Campbell for the Colts. Of course, T.Y. Hilton is already out for the Colts as well. So whenever you take a look at that, you got, and I should add, Xavier Rhodes already ruled out, and tackle Braden Smith already ruled out for the Colts as well. So the Rams, a little bit of good news if you are a Rams backer today as well.
Yeah, we talked a little bit this week about how high you are on the Rams in this matchup, how beat up you are, how beat up the Colts are, and just generally for the season, how low both of us are on Carson Wentz. So, people like to bet home underdogs, but I'm not feeling great. Team being at home, it's not one of the better home field advantages in the NFL. And you have a Rams high-powered offense that gets to play in a dome on the fast turf. So I think the Rams are in another great spot here this week.
Guys, fire away with any last-minute questions, any fantasy stuff that you are wondering, anything that you want to talk about this morning. We're here for the next half hour, and we will start to fill you in on things. Gabriel Davis for the Bills is officially active. He is going to go. Jedrick Wills, the offensive tackle for the Browns, is a go as well. Broncos pass rusher will make his debut. Bradley Chubb will make his season debut today. So there are some guys getting out there, some guys that are not. We have some wide receiver news coming in on the Jets side of things as well. Steven, Jamison Crowder and Denzel Mims both inactive today for the Jets. So again, this is a Jets team that has lost a few different players over the course of the first couple of weeks of the season, and can't get a couple of people back out there on the field either.
Yeah, and a rookie quarterback, right? That's never a good sign. I'm curious where you are with where this line is at right now. I think it's around 6, if I'm not mistaken. The look ahead had it at 4.5, I believe. So there was some quick money middle of the week here on the Patriots. Is there a number that you would feel if we get more public money here on the Patriots, is there a number you would feel comfortable playing the Jets, or is this a total stay?
I'm on the Patriots, so I would not. So I have a bet in on the Patriots, so I would not. I actually really like the Patriots a ton in this one. I have the Patriots as 5.5-point favorites in this matchup, and as a ticket in my account. So no, I am on them. I guess this is as good a time as any to kind of run down what I'm on this morning. Do that right after we get through these lines. So as we sit right now, Broncos 6-point favorites over the Jaguars, 45 your total. Bills 3.5-point favorites over the Dolphins on the road, 48.5 your total. Texans and the Browns. Browns are 13.5-point home favorites now. So this thing, Steven, we can stop. This is the first kind of big move here. This had gotten all the way down to 12 as early as, even early yesterday, and now all the way up to 13.5. So not a key number per se, but it is pushed through that 13 all the way to 13.5. And look, we've got 90 minutes until kickoff. This thing, could it reach 2 touchdowns? Possibly. If it gets to 14, I think there is a chance I might hold my nose and play the Texans, because I believe that the Browns, with their kind of injury situation, obviously knowing that this Texans team is terrible, I can easily see a pulling the foot off the gas here by this Browns team, just running the ball, leaving the back door wide open for the Texans. Again, that's only if this thing gets to 14.
Yeah, the Browns offensive line this week, dealing with some injuries, so that's and I will say this, like of all the preseason narrative about the Houston Texans and tanking, yes, the front office has made a bunch of moves to try and make it so that they don't want to win games, but I don't think the coaching out there, I mean, it was clear last week that they're playing hard and trying to win. Now, they're probably the least talented starting 20 NFL, but I don't think they're trying to lose. I think they're absolutely trying to win, and that was last week, proving or Tarot, if you prefer, it seems these days, has been looking for opportunities to play. He got stabbed in the lung last year and lost that opportunity and gave way to Justin. So I think this is a Houston team that is going to try to stay competitive. And if you give us 14 points here opens a back door immensely, particularly here in the fourth quarter against a Browns offense that, again, up front, but also plays at one of the slower offensive paces in the NFL. So that's a good combination if you're looking to cover. And look, 14 points is massive in the NFL. This is not college where you see Alabama playing Florida or a similar situation. 14 points is absolutely massive in the NFL.
So a couple of more inactives here. These from the Steelers, both Joe Hayden and Devin Bush inactive today for the Steelers. That is pretty big. A game where, listen, I still think that they have a massive advantage in their front four versus the offensive line of the Raiders, but it is not good to have two of your best playmakers not out there on the defensive side of the ball. Joe Hayden, Devin Bush inactive. Ahkello Witherspoon is going to be active in Hayden's place this week. So something to keep in mind there if you were kind of debating whether you wanted to get in on that Steelers team. Steelers let me see right now. Steelers are sitting as where are we at?
5.5.
5.5. Yeah. So this has come
still
down. This has come down since yesterday. This had gotten through the 6 up to 6.5, down to the 5.5 here. So I'm thinking maybe this news ended up leaking last night that both of these guys weren't going to play. We see the Raiders getting that thing back down below the 6, 46.5 your total. Steven, look, here is the difference. What we're kind of dealing with here in this game between these two teams. We have a Raiders team that lost Denzel Good to IR, starting offensive lineman for them. Richie Incognito is out for this game for the Raiders as well. Josh Jacobs is out as well. Now, Yannick Ngakoue and Carl Nassib are apparently going to play through whatever injuries put them on as a questionable tag late in the week on the injury report. But this Raiders team is beat up as they come in here. One of the biggest mismatches we're going to see on paper, of course, on paper, but one of the biggest mismatches we're going to see on paper all week is this defensive line for the Steelers versus the offensive line of the Raiders. TJ Watt is going to be going up against rookie Alex Leatherwood in this one. Cam Hayward is going to be going up against the backup for Denzel Good. If you look at this, they have one guy that's going to be starting on the offensive line this week that has 47 starts over the course of his career. Nobody else has more than 7. So it is going to be a mismatch of a hodgepodge of offensive line in there for this Steelers team. And for me, that was good enough to make the Steelers for the Raiders team, I should say. That was good enough to make the Raiders a fade for me this week in the contests. I put entries in on the Steelers. I wouldn't hate a money line play here on the Steelers, but with Bush and Hayden both out, I don't know if I could pull the trigger on the 5.5.
I'm okay with it because it doesn't for what I thought it would look like on that side of the ball. Those are two very talented players, obviously. I'm not arguing that. But the entire concern coming into this game was the fact that the Raiders offensive line and Bengals have to face now a Steelers front four that was able to get a ton of pressure last week without blitzing. So different situation from what Derek Carr saw on Monday night. I mean, the Ravens were sending guys constantly, receivers who were one-on-one in coverage. That's not going to be the equation this week. The Steelers are going to be able to, in my mind, get pressure with just 4 guys and drop 7. And even though Bush and Hayden are out for this game, I mean, that is a huge advantage to be able to potentially now double team Darren Waller, to get some help on guys like Henry Ruggs and Brian Edwards. So factor that in addition to Vegas and the banged up offensive line, massive concern. So I've been waiting to see if this number would come back down because I didn't want to play the Steelers at 6.5, but I'm going to take the 5.5 at this point because it doesn't really change the equation for me.
The Jonnu Smith, tight end for the Patriots, is a go. He is active. He was another guy that was listed as questionable, so he is going to be out there. So that is a nice little security blanket there for Mac Jones in this one. I'm looking, Trey Sermon will make his NFL debut. Javon Kinlaw is going to give it a go versus the Eagles today. Here is something very interesting. Signed 2 weeks ago, Josh Norman is going to start for this 49ers team today, Stephen, if that gives you any idea how beat up the secondary is with this 49ers team right now. A guy signed off the street 2 weeks ago who hasn't had a good season in the NFL in about 5 years is going to be starting on the road against this Eagles team that, again, I was super impressed with over the course of – I rewatched that game beginning to end. And that Eagles team put together as complete a performance as I have seen in week one of the NFL. I understand. I'm not taking too much here from week one. I'm not overreacting. I will say this, though. It was one of the most complete performances of any of the teams in week one. I did go ahead in the contest and play the Eagles at +3. That was a pick that I was going to play. As we sit right now, it is still sitting at 349 is your total in that thing. I would still be looking on the Eagles side of this, even with Kinlaw giving it a go today.
Matt, this might sound hot takey, but I think the Philadelphia Eagles, of any team in the NFL, the market just got wrong coming into this season. I think that the narrative was that this is a team that was having cap issues and was going to blow it up and just start from scratch and get younger. That's the complete opposite of what they actually did. They brought back all of their high-priced older talent, in particular on the offensive line, out and made some key free agent additions. Teams that are rebuilding don't spend that money when they don't have a lot. They carry it over to the following year's salary cap. And given that Carson Wentz was putrid last year, they now appears to be at the very least, a minor upgrade at the quarterback position in Jalen Hurts. For me, I actually locked in. I wish I would have gotten it at 40-1 before the season, but I went out and bet Nick Sirianni 22-1 to win Coach of the Year now. I don't quite know what it means for this game. I don't like that the number is, I think, 4.5 on the look ahead, and now it's coming down past the here before kickoff. But with the Niners' issues on the defensive side of the ball, this wouldn't shock me in the least if the Eagles go out and win again today. But I just think overall the market was wrong on them with how they had them pegged coming into the season.
If you didn't follow the injury report or didn't catch our podcast, corner Jason Verrett tore his ACL. He's out for the season for the Niners. Dre Greenlaw, linebacker, is out for the Niners today as well. Corner Emmanuel Mosley is out for the Niners today as well. So that is why you are in a situation where you have Josh Norman, who is going to be starting at corner for this 49ers team. It looks like Eric Armstead and Javon Kinlaw are both going to give it a go. But again, they were on the injury report listed as questionable entering this game right here. Steve, I do want to clear something up because I do think we also give, and I think the market definitely did get the Eagles wrong a little bit. Also, I think we put way, way, way too much emphasis on look-ahead lines. I think we reference them far too much and put way too much emphasis in them because the look-ahead line doesn't get the complete story here. So it doesn't really matter to me that the line was at 4.5 because that line was set at 4.5 before they were going to be without 3 of their starting corners and 3 of their starting defensive players in a game. So basically it's one of those things where you're getting a very, very incomplete piece of the picture. And so I don't think missing out on a 4.5 when we had no idea that they were going to be down two more corners in this game, as well as a starting linebacker as well. It doesn't bother me in the least bit. Right. So it's fun to look ahead, to have those look ahead lines. It's okay to reference them, I think, from time to time, but it is a huge, huge incomplete piece of information. I just want to make sure that everyone understands whenever we say but that was at 4.5 and now it's sitting at 3. Well, yeah, but that 4.5 was not taking into account that 2 starting corners were going to be out and a starting linebacker was going to be out in this game. So just something to process as as we do that.
Context is everything, right? In this situation, key and significant injuries are the reason that line another game and the look ahead line moves 4 points, but there aren't key or significant injuries in that situation.
Then
maybe
you got to ask yourself why, right?
But I do want to share another game here. Two guys on our staff, Mo Noir, our senior, also Brad Allen, the great contributor to our podcast every week, on the same bet for this one. I'm not sure how I feel on both sides of this game because I think it's going to be just a fun, entertaining, evenly matched game, frankly. But I do like both of their angle on the Eagles team total over in this one. I think that's sitting at 22.5 right now. It might go up to 23 here. So I like that angle. I think it's a great angle for this one, given all the Niners injuries.
Yeah, I mean, you would think here that you might even be looking at player props on Devonta Smith as well.
Oh, yeah.
I think this – so you're looking at you're looking at a situation where Dre Kirkpatrick, who was signed on Tuesday, and Josh Norman, who was signed a week and a half ago, are going to be active and playing for the 49ers because that's what they have to do in this game because they don't have enough warm bodies out there to cover receivers. So a bummer for this 49ers team that, was probably the most snake bit team in all the NFL in 2020. And certainly things have not started off very well for them here at the beginning of 2021 either. When we take a look at that, keep continuing to run down the lines here, guys, so that you can see what's going on out there. The Bengals and the Bears, this is down to 1.5, Stephen. So Bengals just grabbing a ton of money in this thing. When you look at the Bears injury report, it's not great. So I do understand why it is at least a little bit of movement here. I do know that maybe there's a tiny bit of overreaction here because the Bengals will be without Trey Waynes, who's their starting cornerback as well. So he's going to be out. But the Eddie Goldman not going to be in there for the Bears. Larry Borum, who's a kind of a swing tackle for them, he's not going to be in there. Jason Peters, who has been battling with injury all week long, is going to at least give it a go. But as well as anyone with Jason Peters, he is likely to find his time on the bench this week as well because he just doesn't make it through games whenever he plays when he's questionable.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking at some of these the prop tool. I just want to let everybody know here while we have a second. Like the lines.com, perfect, amazing tool for Sunday mornings as these inactives come out. You go to our NFL tab and you hit the NFL prop and you just literally type in the name of the player that you want to look for props for. It'll give you all the best numbers across all the legal sports books in your state. Tool to check out. And on top of that, if you go NFL tab again and under betting angles, our staff is constantly updating all the latest news, all the latest inactives and betting angles on Sunday at 1:00. So just two things you can check out there each and every Sunday to make sure you are up to date and getting latest betting advice and betting angles.
Yeah. What do you think of this this Jets receiving core then with the news that we have, with the information that we have? We do know that Keelan Cole is going to go. Oh wait, no, let's see here. Who was the other receiver that was
Crowder?
Oh yeah, Crowder. So what do you make of this? What do you make of this receiving core now? Is there any? I mean, do you want to look at more? Do you want to look at or you just want to nothing to do with this game whatsoever?
Yeah, I think it's against the Patriots secondary, and not only that, but the Patriots front with Matt Judon and company is going to, I think, have pretty decent success getting some pressure. But I'm looking at some player props here. I think, if anything, this is just get some garbage time from Corey Davis here. It seems like of all receivers in this core, he is the guy that is honing in on, and I think I'm here a very interesting divide between example why you got to use our prop finder tool on the lines, because I type in Corey and I see that his receiving prop at FanDuel is 65.5 right now, but at Caesars and DraftKings it's only 53.5. So that I'm interested in, and if you weren't shopping around, gotten 12 yards off of the value of that prop. That's amazingly significant if you're trying to bet overs here. And guy who was peppered last week. I'm just going back, pulling up the box score here to see.
Right.
I think he was close to double-digit targets last week. But that's a trend that continued from the preseason. So he had 7 targets last week, but he was incredibly successful. Receptions for 97 yards and 2 touchdowns. So number 1 target in this offense. He played 89% of the snaps, and I'm not sure that anything in the 50s has adjusted to what his actual role is in the offense at this point, especially with those 2 guys.
So if we're using the prop tool right here, what do we see for Devonta Smith? Because again, I think that there is a chance. I'm not going to say full on eruption spot for him right here, but I think that if this thing is in the low 50s, that might be a play for me.
I think you're going to like it then. Pull it up here. He's at 51, but you could still get him at 47.5 at. It is juiced to -125. You can get 48.5 at BetMGM. So you could still get.
I think that 48. Yeah, I think that 48. I'm going to go search for that one and give that a play. This corner situation. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean. Here's the other thing, right? This is also me buying into my conviction that I think the Eagles are super live in this game, not only to cover with the 3, but also to win the game just outright. And so it's kind of a prop bet that also backs up my conviction on this thing that if the Eagles are going to get it done, then Devonta Smith is going to have a good game. You know, he's going to get it done in this game as well. So I think I'm going to go and find that 48 and play the over as well.
Let me ask you this: Do you like paying the juice at -118 at that price at 48.5, or would you prefer an over 4.5 receptions at +115?
Well, the thing is I in a situation like this with corners that I think can be toasted, I'd rather play the yardage. I don't need the volume, I don't think, in something like this, because my whole reasoning for playing it behind this is the fact that both of these corners should be able to get toasted. So I hope that I could get there on 2 catches, you know, if things go right for me there. So not really looking to go that direction here. Continue to run down the lines here, guys, as you get in your final bets of the morning. The Rams, 4.5 point favorites on the Colts. The Saints are 3-point favorites on the road against the Panthers. So that thing has come off the hook after the injury report came out for the Saints. So pretty significant move there that has moved back onto the 3 after it had moved off of the 3. Tons of Panthers money coming in after C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Marshawn Lattimore both are inactive for the Saints this morning. Patriots has moved back to 6 at a couple of books. So 6-point favorites over the Jets. In that one, 43 is your total. The Cardinals, this has held steady all week long. 3.5-point favorites against the Vikings. Now, we have not gotten the final injury report in this one, Stephen, and there were some pretty significant names on the Vikings injury report. So from what we've seen this morning with the injury news coming out and the action that we're seeing, if you're a Cardinals backer and you want to roll the dice, you should probably play it now, because it'll definitely move off of that 3.5. And if you're a Vikings backer, I would say roll the dice and see if the injury report goes your way, because you might be able to get a 3. You might be able to get a bigger number on this thing as well. So just something to think about in that one.
Another situation like we talked about earlier, where you got to kind of ignore the look-ahead line because of all these significant injuries on the Vikings defense, right? It changes the.
Yep.
I'm in the middle of this week about how I was maybe interested in the Vikings if it got to 4.5. Well, that was before we saw all these injury updates and whatnot.
Starting linebackers. Christian Darrisaw is going to be out as well for them. So there are a lot of things in that one. I do want to hit this. I do want to talk just through this one just a tad. Cowboys Chargers. Now, we don't really have any injury concerns in this one that we don't already know about. We know that the Chargers put Brian Bulaga on IR. He's their starting right tackle. Chris Harris is going to be out in this one for the Chargers, and defensive end Justin Jones is going to be out in this one for the Chargers. Then on the Cowboys side of things, right tackle Lyle Collins is out. He's been suspended. Defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence, we know, is out. He is going to be out for a while with that broken foot. Defensive end Randy Gregory is still on the COVID list, so he is out. What is that? Is that Nsekhe? Tyler Nsekhe,
yeah.
the offensive tackle, he is the backup to La'el Collins, but he is out. He was taken to the hospital Thursday after we recorded the pod, Steven. He had a heat-related illness, so he is out. So tackle and backup tackle out in
against
this
Joey
one.
against Bosa.
Right. Michael Gallup put on IR as well. And then again, we don't have the official injury report yet on this thing, but both safeties listed as questionable as well for the Cowboys. Listen, I think that this Cowboys team has a chance to be pretty good on offense throughout the course of the year, but that's a lot of defensive guys out. That's a lot of offensive linemen that are out. There are a lot of things working against them in this game. I did not think I was going to end up on a play on the Chargers. I think while this thing is still sitting at a flat 3, I might come in with a small play on the Chargers in this thing. And what do you think about the points as well? I mean, it's up there at 54.5, 55, but with all of those Cowboys injuries, with all the Chargers injuries, I might want to say as well. I mean, Chris Harris is out. Justin Jones is out. That's a starting corner. That's a starting defensive end that's out. And also their right tackle is going to be out as well. I think this thing has shootout written all over it, and I wonder if 55 is even high enough. I wonder if this thing doesn't play into the 60s.
Yeah, if I could find maybe like an alternate team total here on the Chargers right on, because I'm seeing right now about 27.5, but heavily juiced towards the over for the Chargers. I would be okay playing like a 28-29 here to see if I can get plus money on this, because I'm more that the Chargers are going to be able to score on this Cowboys defense, especially with them banged up and not having their main pass rusher and DeMar. I mean, they just gave up 30 points to the Bucs, despite the Bucs turning it over 4 times. I mean, goodness gracious. So so I don't see much improvement from a year ago, at least not yet. And then the concerns on the offensive line, especially at tackle for me, facing a guy like Bosa, and the PFF grades for Steele, that third string right tackle, are not very good. So I do think there's going to be points on both sides here. I'm a little more confident in the Chargers being able to do whatever they want against this defense, as opposed to the Cowboys being able to do whatever they want. So if I can do an alternative line here and get some plus money, I think I'd go for the Chargers.
I'm not going to bet it, but does this feel like a little bit of an overreaction in this Bears line, getting down to 1.5 here now on this Bears team? Look, I'm very low on the Bears. I think that maybe my opinion could change once they do make the quarterback switch in week 4, but I still think player to player matchup here. If you basically push it all together, the Bears are a better squad overall than this Bengals team. I mean, you know me, I love Jesus H. Burrow and everything about him, and I love all those weapons that he's got, but it's still a defense that, look, they did add Trey Hendrickson in the offseason. I mean, like, it's not like this is the same old defense that you got out of the Bengals last year, but I just feel like the move all the way down to 1.5, I think all this Bengals love seems to be maybe a little bit of an overreaction.
I agree. I mean, we talked about this on the pod earlier this week, and has moved 3 points, and to me, it's a lot of overreaction. The Bears played a road game against the Rams week 1. The Bengals basically played the Vikings to a tie, and they won in overtime based on Dalvin Cook fumbling the ball. They quite frankly could have lost that game. So I'm full of injuries for the Bears, but we're also reports that Justin Fields could play a little bit more in this game. I think it's way too much of an overreaction. If you're going to give me 3 situation from the look ahead, I'm okay with that. These are 2 teams that were a full game different in their win totals coming into the season. So I do think that the Bengals are a little bit better than what we expected coming into the season, because I just think Joe Burrow is that good and has that much. But they're also a train wreck. I mean, the Vikings play calling was bad last week, but they 400 yards of offense.
So we got a question here from Dan. Asked Packers or Browns for his survivor pool. I would play the Packers had I not gotten bounced by the Vikings last week. My roadmap was to play the Packers this week. mainly because I think there's so much future value in the Browns. And I don't know 100%, Steven. Now, like, we think that the Packers are good, but maybe there's a chance they're not. And so I was going to go the Packers this week because I just feel like there's more future value in the Browns than there is in the Packers.
No, I agree. And you're getting what I think should be closer to a 2-touchdown favorite in this game. I think that it's going to be more difficult to choose the Packers as the season goes on. So, I like that play. We got another question here asking if he should start Brady or Lamar Jackson lineup. I actually think this is pretty much a coin toss, to be honest with you. I would put it this way. If you're a big favorite in your fantasy matchup, I would just start Brady. But if you the projections and you need to shoot for the moon, then go with Lamar Jackson, possibly get all that rushing upside as well.
Yeah, Brady is certainly the safer. And listen, they have the highest team total on the week, right? So, I mean, they have the highest team total of anybody on the week. So, you know that there's a safety in what Tom Brady is going to do out there. But like you said, I'd be playing Brady if I just knew that I needed X amount of points for my quarterback, and I felt pretty comfortable with that, and that's going to get it done. Because, listen, Lamar with his legs could go for, here's the deal, he doesn't even have to be efficient passing. He could go for 110 and a touchdown or 110 and 2 touchdowns with his legs. So all that upside like Steven's talking about. But if you think that you're going to win this week, I would go with Tom Brady, because I do believe with the injury situation for that Ravens team that there's at least a chance it could be a struggle for Lamar Jackson today.
Definitely. From Caesar, PPR League, Winston or Ryan Tannehill. This is Ryan Tannehill for me. I think this game's going to be a shootout, and they're a road dog, so possibly some negative game script there. I know they look like crap last week, but Jameis Winston may have had 5 touchdowns, but he had less than 200 yards passing. That was a total outlier of a game for. And then DJ Moore or Tyson Williams at the flex. I'm taking DJ Moore in that matchup. I think with the cornerback concerns, DJ Moore, and he's had some big games against them in years past.
And
division
not
matchup.
to mention that Ravens team, they activated Devonta Freeman as well.
It's going to be a rotation
to go along with Latavius Murray, who probably a week later is probably going to get more carries as well. And to echo your comment on Tannehill, here's the thing. They're 6-point underdogs in this game, so they're likely to be trailing. So they're not going to be able to just rely on Derrick Henry, I don't think. If things
with
play
an over
out
under of 50.
Right.
5 the over under.
So should be trailing if we go by what the point spread says, where they're 6-point road underdogs, and as Steven mentioned, one of the higher totals of the week as well. So I would be Tannehill as well on that one.
Yeah, and just to answer his last question here, because happy to answer anybody that has a question here in the chat on our live stream. Start 2 wide receivers in a flex: Allen Robinson, Justin Jefferson, Cooper. Top right there. I see the rest of these guys. You have Allen Robinson, Justin Jefferson, and Cooper Kupp. You're going to start those guys, even over Elijah Mitchell for me, who I think is going to get most of the carries, but that's a tough. In being able to rush the ball against them. So Robinson, Jefferson, Kupp for me.
Yeah, I mean, if you have Robinson, Jefferson, and Kupp this week in particular, you probably have 3 top 15, top 16 receivers, like just in those 3 guys, because of the way that things are going to play out. So you probably, definitely have 3 top 20 guys with those 3. So I would just stop, right there with Robinson, Jefferson, and Kupp. Steven, last minute here, what did you get in your account? What are your bets for the week? And then we'll let everybody get to their fantasy lineups, get to making their last minute bets and getting to some of these props and stuff.
Yeah, I would encourage everybody to go check out the Lines podcast on Apple and Spotify to get the rest of our bets for this week that we made earlier in the week. But I will share 2 more that I made this morning. KJ over on his receiving yards with Jerry Jeudy out now. That number still, to me, hadn't adjusted. It was still in the third. he hit with Judy in the lineup a week ago, and he should only see his targets and snap rate go up now with Judy now out for what looks like. And I am hopping on that bandwagon with Mo, Nwara, and also Brad Allen to take the Eagles team total in this game. I do think they are, of all the underdogs today, I think the Eagles are live.
Yeah, I'm going to go try to find Devonta Smith props. I also have props on Mike Williams in that game. Again, I just expect a ton of points. I think there's going to be a shootout in LA with the Cowboys in town, and Mike Williams props are a little bit more juicy than Keenan Allen props. Now, that being said, he is far more volatile. So depending on your risk tolerance, don't, just understand that Mike Williams is a more volatile guy than Keenan Allen is. But if, again, we're looking at a 55 total in a game where both teams have significant defensive injuries, I think this thing could play into the 60s. And with that got me on Mike Williams over on his receiving prop as well. I'm backing, listen, this is a prove it week to me. I am making these teams prove it. So I am on the Patriots at 5.5. Prove it to me, Jets, that you are not going to be one of the worst teams in the league. I'm going to need to see it. I am on the Cardinals yet again. Same deal. Prove it to me, Vikings, that you can get it done on the road against this team while they're healthy. Now, any sort of injuries on the defensive side of the ball, and then the Cardinals, or even the offensive side of the ball, and this Cardinals team is not what they looked like last week. But right now, we don't have to worry about that. So I'm on the Cardinals. Come in, prove it to me. I am super, super heavy on the Chiefs. Love the Chiefs in this game versus the Ravens. I think all those injuries with the Ravens are going to stack up. And by the way, one of the things that you get with a clean injury report with the Chiefs means that you get back Honey Badger and you get back Frank Clark as well. Both of those guys are going to be back in the lineup for this Chiefs defense. They were not there last week against this Cleveland Browns team. So it is a big, big boost for them getting two starters back in there for them. So those are the ones I'm real heavy on. Like I said, I took a piece of the Eagles at +3. I just think that number for what the 49ers are going to be going up against, I think the Eagles can battle pretty hard here. And like you said, I think they're live for an outright upset.
You got a teaser you like? You got a teaser you like this week? Tough week for teasers.
Tough week for teasers. I mean, if I had to play one, tough week for teasers, like you said. If I had to play one, I'd probably play the Bengals. There's still some 2s available out there. You could get them up to 8. I'd probably play them, and I would probably hold my nose. And like I said, get the Texans up close to 3 touchdowns and just call it a day. It's going to suck. It's nothing I'd want to live through. It's nothing I'd want to live through. I guess you could also take the Broncos down to a pick 'em. Could be another angle there.
I kind of want to tease the Eagles up, honestly. I mean,
or you could tease the Eagles up. Yeah, I mean, or you could tease the Eagles up. I mean, up to there's a significant move right there over at DraftKings. It has come off the 3 to 2.5.
Wow.
It has come off the 3 to 2.5. So the Eagles backing has begun. The Eagles backing is coming right now, Steven. So like we said, that is just a bad injury report for this 49ers team. And that corner situation could end up being pretty brutal for them in this thing.
Yes, sir. I think they're live for all those reasons we talked about already.
All right, guys. Well, have a good have a good week. Good luck on your fantasy games. Good luck on all your bets. Good luck on all your props. May you run pure, and may all the balls bounce in your direction. For Steven, I'm Matt. Talk to you guys next week.